First off, apologies for not getting this up in the time I said I would. I've been having some financial difficulties, having switched jobs and everything recently, and in the midst of trying to get rent and everything else paid so I didn't have to worry about my apartment, my internet was temporarily shut off, so I wasn't able to make and upload videos. However, I've now got it back up. I repurchased the license for my video editing software, which also unfortunately lapsed. And so even though we are a few days late, we are back with episode 2 of Vampire the Masquerade Redemption. Again, as I said in the other one, I don't feel so bad about talking over these because they are subtitled and they're also very long and drawn out and melodramatic. But we are now seeing Cristof waking up to his first night of unlife as a member of the Knights.
Stealing blood to live, damned and
I will get into a little bit of what I said I had an issue with in the last one, being the clan you're embraced in. As she's getting into right now, which is why I'm going to talk about it right now, he has been embraced into clan Brujah, which I refuse to, again, pronounce the way this game has it. It is not Brujah, it is Brujah. This is the only game I've ever seen that pronounces it Brujah, but whatever. If you are familiar with the Brujah from World of Darkness, you'll notice the way she describes them is a little bit not quite what you're used to and what you'd expect for that clan. The reason being, her and Cosmos there, or Cosmos, or whatever the hell his name is, are members of a sect of the Brujah called the Prometheans. The Prometheans are basically a little subgroup of the Brujah, are philosophers and glorify and pine for the days when, as she says, they ruled a noble Carthage, when all mortals and Knights lived in peace and harmony, and everything was good and right in the world, and all was as it should be. From their perspective. Literally every other clan, and even most in the modern Knights, other members of Clan Brujah, acknowledge that Carthage was not the fabled promised land that their ancestors made it out to be. However, it is the root of the going into the modern Knights feud between the Brujah and the Ventru. Not that they don't try to get along. In the modern Knights, they're both founding and core members of the Camarilla. But there's definitely some issues between the two of them. As you also kind of see a little bit in this, they allude to, Brujah have a tendency to, let's just say, get a little overzealous in their beliefs. And they tend to, let's just say, fly off the handle when things don't go their way. They're not bestial. They are, however, very prone to violent outbursts and getting enraged over things. That is just a trait of the clan. Part of, the curse of their blood.
Then thou may hold his leash.
Going forward in this, you'll see you're about to meet Willem Stryker, who is your first coterie member here. He gets into a little bit more of what's going on with the clan and the overall story, and introduces you to being a vampire. I don't dislike Ekaterina and Willem. Willem especially is a really good character. But if you know the World of Darkness and the Modern Knights and going forward, it makes it a little odd being in this with this storyline and these characters, because in the Modern Knights, which it does somewhat to a small extent get into when the game progresses to the year 1999,
Verily, he is as ready
Ekaterina
as he ever be.
is, I forget, a
I would
bishop
have
or
thy
an
counsel,
archbishop
Cosmos.
in the Sabbat.
Cristof is no Brujah
She is one of the Brujah
His hot blood
whose hatred
cools,
of
but he
Clan
has no
Ventru
mission
and all of
and
that.
Send
After,
him
I won't get into the whole
If he survives,
thing explaining it, but the Convention of Thorns,
Cristof,
which leads
go
to
thou
the
with
founding
Wilhelm
of the
Stryker.
Camarilla,
Trust what he
and the
says if
counter-founding
thou wouldst outlive
of
the
the Sabbat as
Go, my
opposition to
swordsman,
the
and
Camarilla.
strike deep
Quite a
into the
few
lair
of the
our dear
Brujah
ally,
elders, Ekaterina
Baron the
included,
Cappadocian.
end up joining the Sabbat, basically
Time to
just
dig thy deep
because
blood.
it's not the one, quote-unquote, run by the Ventru. So, her, about their following the path of humanity and the
Ekaterina
nobility
is a
and
stomach,
all this
not
other
a
stuff of
warrior
their
born.
cause,
She would keep her
knowing that
fledglings
she ends up
studying
one of the
vampire
ones
lore in her
running
nest
the
till
Sabbat
Gehenna
in
comes,
the modern
and
Knights
never hurl
makes
them
it
from
a
the
little
nest
bit
to
of a
test their
weird
wings.
juxtaposition.
But I cannot spend
But
hours
anyway,
debating
so now
canine
going
wisdom in a
forward, we're
university.
out of the Haven,
Give
we're
me a stout
finally
broadsword in
away
my
from
hand,
her,
and the sweet
and getting
taste
into a
of
little
my
bit
foe's
of where
blood in my
Willem
tongue,
is explaining
and I have all
things
the
to us a
wisdom I
bit.
need.
I keep,
And I
and I
suspect
might do
thou
it
art
here,
the king.
I always, in my head,
I
he's
am not akin
Wilhelm,
to thee, blood
with the L
I
in there.
strike only
I don't know
those
why
that
he's
deserve my
Wilhelm
steel.
in this, but
Do
whatever.
not murder the innocents to gorge on their blood.
Wilhelm is just the
Thou
more
shalt
common
feed
name.
on
It's the
blood,
German
or thou
version
shalt
of William.
die.
Wilhelm
But
is
thou
a
need
weird
not
one.
kill
I mean,
to
I'm
do
sure
so.
it's just an equally
Drink
valid
only
name. It's
so
just
much
not
blood
one you hear
as
as
will
often.
sustain thee.
And,
Suffer thy prey
so
to live on.
it starts out
But
a
to
little
kill during
slow
the feeding
here,
is to
getting into
violate
what's
our
going
Promethean
on
ethic.
with the,
In that way lies the
you
beast.
being a Canaanite, and
beast?
getting into the story
A
here,
beast
and
born
getting
of
your
Cain's sin
feet
doth
wet
coil within
and
thy breast,
everything
Cristof.
in the world of
Keep it at
darkness.
bay, or be lost forever. Acts of
So,
cruelty unleash that
going
beast
forward, I'll, a
until
little
it
bit about
rules
what
thee,
he's talking about,
as
but
it rules many
I'll
of ours
kind of
must
more
keep.
less let
Beast
this go.
made
I've
the
said my
madman?
piece on the Brujah. I won't
Nay,
go
the
back
mad
to that.
vampires are called Malkavian.
Just got it out of my
Shouldst
system.
thou
I'm good
meet
now.
one, God help thee. Shouldst
I
thou
also
need his
want
assistance,
to, if
God cannot help thee.
you watched the
Nay,
first one, I'm
beast
recording the
is
sound a
not mere
little
madness,
different on
but
this to try to
demonic
keep it from
possession
having
by
that
the curse of
staticky
Cain.
sound in the background.
We
So
Prometheans
hopefully I
are
won't have to
wayfarers
keep
in the
cutting
land
the
of
sound
beast.
in and out to be
who
able to
stray
hear the
not from the
dialogue
road
when
of
I finally
humanity,
put
the
the
Via
video
Humanitas.
together the whole way.
By our acts of compassion are we
Because
saved
there are some
from
parts
the
where I will
jaws of
stop
the
and
beast.
let them talk.
Remember
But this
this
right now, I
always,
mean,
or
they're
be
not really
devoured
saying
from
anything
within.
all that important. You can follow along with the subtitles. When they're actually, meeting other characters and getting into things,
Thou
I
hast
will talk a
life
little bit more about,
everlasting.
I'm sorry, I
So
will
long as thou
stop
keepest
talking,
thy
I should
pallid
say,
flesh hidden
and let the
from the
conversations
sun's
go,
hateful
except for where I
rays.
need to clarify something for
Life-giving
those who
sun
might not
only
be
brings
familiar
death
with it.
to
Also,
the
if I
likes of
seem
us.
like I'm rambling a
Each
little
day
bit,
we
it's
must
very
retreat
late at
to our
night.
haven in
I've
the
been making
chambers below
videos
the
all day,
university.
recording, filming, and editing. I'm doing this one as just a sit and unwind while watching the video I put together of this and doing my narration. And I am about half a bottle of Jaeger into my evening and sitting back and smoking a cigar. So, a little bit off, possibly, but yeah. So here's our haven. This is where we started out at the beginning of this video. We see that cross he threw is on the ground. It is always on the ground going forward. Some of this stuff I may have forgotten to edit out. I'm just going to leave it in now that I'm talking over it. But as I mentioned, I did a little bit of tweaking with Cristof. Got his character more powerful and things like that. I am not going to do that with the other characters. I'm going to let them progress as they go. As you see, Cristof is, yeah, he's pretty far up. I'm just doing this just to get through the game. Because otherwise, as you'll see coming up in one here, there will be a fight that we have, even with him at the point he's at. He gets knocked flying a couple of times. Willem gets knocked flying. They both take some serious damage. Even with his stats being all the way up and having his, which I don't use his disciplines much at this point of the game. I'm just getting them up to get it done. You see, I also kind of wanted to show what the character sheet and everything is with this. You see, with Willem, I don't give him extra XP. He just progresses as he progresses. But the same with other characters coming up. But with Cristof, just to keep him from constantly getting killed and having to go back and restarting and making the game take for fucking ever to play, pardon my French, I will be cheat coding him a bit. But I don't think that really takes away from the ability to watch this. The appeal of this game is the story. The appeal of this game is not the grind. So, as I said, I have played this game so many times. The grind is not appealing to me. I just want to play it for the story and the environment and the immersion of it. So, but now, as we already got a little bit of a glimpse of, we're seeing Prague by night, which we will be seeing a lot more of going forward, because now being a K-night, that's all we're going to see is night. You'll notice the guards are a little bit different. Things are a little bit different. Give me a second as I take a sip here. My throat's getting dry. Oh, that's good shit. I will, however, point out a little bit of a weirdness going forward here when it gets to that. Remember what I mentioned in the last one about the numbers of K-Knights versus the numbers of mortals that we see? Now, you notice as we walk around, and granted, this is at night in a medieval city, so it's not like there's nightlife. People aren't going out clubbing. But you don't see a lot of people out and about. You don't really get the sense that this is a heavily populated, bustling city, which, granted, it should be. It's Prague. But it looks pretty sparse, pretty low population. Contrast that when we get going forward here with this video's dungeon crawl. And I'm going to try to keep track of how many frickin' vampires we kill in this one level. Now, the Modern Knights, medieval's a little bit different. The Modern Knights, when you're playing Vampire the Masquerade, the generic rule of thumb in a city is that per 100,000 mortals, give or take, more or less, rule of thumb, not a hard, unbreakable rule, but 1 K-Knight per 100,000 mortals, which it sounds like a lot, but if you figure a city like the size of New York City or London or Berlin or Moscow or something, that gives you a lot of room for a lot of K-Knights. Now, in this, medieval is a bit different. There were more vampires, they were more open, but you still have to have enough of a population to support the number of vampires that you have. And as I said, when we get going, I'm going to keep a tally of how many of them we kill. And you'll start to see the issue I have when we get there.
The hunger overcomes thee.
Light my
The beast strengthens as thou
here.
weaken from lack of blood. Canst thou feel him uncoiling in thy heart? Thou must feed. Feed or die, Cristof, for I shall kill thee before I let the beast
claim
claim
so much
thee.
easier. Anyway, you'll notice too, right off the bat, I got our blood levels up. You start out low enough with Cristof that
These powers
he's like hard scripted dialogue points here, but you do kind of run into where when he's low, if you do anything with his disciplines, you will get to where you start to frenzy and start to make bad decisions. And as I said, I don't really use his disciplines at this point of the game. They come in handy much later, but at this point of the game, you don't really need them. At least you don't need the disciplines he has starting out. You do get to learn some much more interesting ones going forward, but for now, he's not really dependent on his disciplines.
Very
that
well.
is to say, his
Shouldst thou
vampiric
display
superpowers,
valor in our
if you
mission
wanna
this
look
night,
at it that way.
I shall take thee to the
However,
but only
you
for a moment.
still have to
Gracious
watch
Zeus.
your blood, because
Now
if
come.
you need to
Our mission
heal,
lies ahead.
it takes blood. And when you are low on blood, when you take damage, you will see a little orange, the little black bar on the bottom underneath the red and blue bar there. That starts to fill up with orange, showing your frenzy levels. When you're low on blood, it is harder to keep your frenzy levels down, and it is much easier for you to lose control. Which you will also occasionally hear your other coterie members as you go commenting that they are low on blood. Willem says, I'm weak. Willem says, Matter of fact, I forget what he says, but Cristof will say, "I am weak from lack of precious blood," and they all have their own little line they say that's a little audio reminder that you might want to feed them before they lose their shit. So try to avoid that going forward. So I start right off the bat with the blood bottles you have available. I will up his blood level. Same with Wilhelm. I try to keep it up. And I pick up some things here because I have the money. Some of these more mystical things she has are things that allow your blood pool to be increased, which, again, not really using the disciplines. However, upping your blood pool means that you are holding more blood, so it is that much longer before you run into issues with your blood. So, not a bad thing to keep in mind. If you're playing this and you have the opportunity, you can do things to increase your blood pool, which makes it easier to manage, especially later in the game once you start using your disciplines more heavily, because some of them really take it out of you. Again, although as you go, there is one that I will desperately be trying to get, which actually allows you to feed on somebody from a distance, called Theft of Vitae. That is very, very, very handy in the game going forward. You will definitely see me pick that one up once I am able to.
Behold Petron Hill Monastery.
Now, the Cappadocian
vampires in Prague.
They talk a little bit about it going forward, but I'll get into it ahead of time here.
Nay,
the Cappadocians, if you are familiar again with Modern World of Darkness, and that is a name that sounds vaguely familiar, but you don't really know much about them, the Cappadocians are a clan that is around here in the medieval period, but is more or less extinct in the modern nights. They have been usurped and replaced by the clan called Giovanni. I won't really get into the whole story with that. Let's just say Cappadocius, the head of the clan, embraced the head of the Giovanni family in Venice, who then turned around and diablerized him and took over the clan. There's theories that he deliberately Cappadocius did that and allowed himself to be diablerized, but that's kind of conjecture.
The wisdom of the ancient Canaanites.
With the whole thing with the Cappadocians, as they mention and get into a little bit, is they are obsessed with death. That doesn't mean killing. They're obsessed with death itself, the process of death, the land of the dead, what happens when you die, and all of that. They are, for lack of a better term, necromancers. They can raise the dead, they can speak to and command the spirits of the dead, and all of that. Which is why they embraced the Giovanni, was they were mortal necromancers that had abilities that they wanted, so they brought them into the clan. And here we go. There's 1, 2 dead vampires at the start here before you even get in there. I'm going to try to keep track, as I said. And you'll see what I mean. Sorry. Something got caught in my throat there.
The Cappadocians are a strange clan, Cristof. They seek to understand death and the secrets of the grave. Prepare thyself.
And by Walking Dead, he doesn't mean vampires.
Are guarded by the walking dead.
The stench of death taints this holy place.
It is fitting for the clan of death.
3. And if it seems like I'm killing them easily, they're actually not that strong or hard to kill. You do go through them pretty easily, even if you don't jack up your character. It's more the numbers and frequency of them. 4. 5. It's more the numbers and frequency of them that are the issue than the strength of them. And that was a shambling corpse, so we won't count that one.
Final death to thee, my Canaanite brothers. The oblivion thou seekst is upon thee.
6. 7. With the weapons we have, it is more your dexterity than your strength that decides how easily you kill things, because, you know, with high dexterity, you're more accurate with the weapon, so you can actually kill it. Which sounds like an odd thing to point out, but just for the way this game works, if you're playing it right and looking to up your stats, at this level of the game, worry about your dexterity. Up your strength if it's required for a weapon you want to carry. 9, 10, I might have already lost count, but we'll say 10. But up your dexterity unless you need to up your strength for a specific weapon. Because the accuracy is what's important at this point. Sorry, as I said, I've been drinking. It might make it a little hard for me to keep count, but we'll say 10 for now. It's very late, and I've been doing videos and editing all day. My brain's a little fried right now. I'm actually recording this while another video I made on a completely different topic renders, so... If you're somebody that comes across my channel for these, by these vampire or other gaming videos, I spent all day today doing one of my Gundam talk videos. So these shambling horde things are actually really easy to kill. I'm not wasting much interaction or anything with these by doing it the easy way here. They can overwhelm you if you are, like, you know, not real smart with how you've upgraded, but... 11. The danger with this is more if you're using your disciplines as you go and not having much of a chance to feed, you can really start running into problems the further and further down into this monastery you go. It's not so much the opposition you're facing, it's the length and amount of it at the level you're at as a Khainite.
I take no pleasure in it. I just do what must be done. The only one I will not fight is Garanal, the leader of the Cappadocians. I chose to strike this night because Garanal and his assistant Sarina have an audience with the Khainite Prince of Prague, Rudolf Brandl, and will not be here.
I will say the medieval part of this game is much 12 is much more about the atmosphere and the story than it is about the combat. So yeah, it can be challenging, but it is nowhere near as difficult as the later levels are. And you'll see he is using Claws of the Beast. He has the ability called Protean that allows him to shift his form. One of the abilities is that you can grow the claws that you usually see vampires having in movies and things like that. That's not an innate ability all vampires have. So we're up to, what, 14 now? So right there, if we were going by the modern amount of people per Khainite, we'd be approaching 1.5 million people in this city just to support this monastery, and it just gets worse. So you see what I was talking about with the little bit of an issue I have with it. So I mean, story-wise and game-wise, I understand you got to have opposition, but at the same time, if you know you're somebody coming like I was when I first played this, coming into it from somebody who had been playing the tabletop for several years, you look at it and go, "Wow, that's a lot of vampires for this place." I think in this one monastery here going through, I'm pretty sure you kill more vampires than I think I individually killed in the entire career of my main character playing tabletop Vampire the Masquerade did. It's that bad. And we killed a lot. I mean, we were some bastards. We were basically a group of enforcers with the Camarilla. If you're familiar with the Camarilla, my character was an Alistair, for God's sake.
More dark worship. Is there no end to the vampiric taste for blasphemy?
Geronald celebrates
He
the
was more or less the
transfiguration
de
of death.
facto leader of a
But I
coterie,
do not share
including
his
a
fondness for
Brujah that
glory.
was almost
I have
this
died
age,
once to
and an
become a king,
Assamite,
and do
and
not
then the
seek to
revolving
die
door
again.
of lesser player characters that played with us, including a Tremere and a few others. 16. Again, that might not be in the numbers quite right, but you get the general idea. I'm like 12, 14 shots worth of Jaeger in right now, so the brain's a little foggy. And what's funny is, as I mentioned, with the animosity between the clans, my character when I played was an old school medieval Ventru, along with a coterie member who was a almost as old medieval Brujah, and the two of them were actually pretty good friends in character. They like got a really good level of respect and admiration between the two of them, which is kind of odd considering the characters in the clans, but it worked. If by some chance my old buddy that used to play that character ever happens to see these videos, Slade, miss you, man. I miss tearing apart Sabbat packs and random groups of anarchs alongside you, bro.
To the abyss with thee.
So, what, 17... It's not so much the numbers of them that's hard to keep track of, it's sometimes the gaps in between and fighting other things. My brain kind of loses track of how many of them were vampires and how many of them were not. So we'll say this is 20. So there's 2 million people's worth of Canaanites. Trying to hit that one behind me, but for some reason it won't let me until I move the camera around. Even then it won't. I think it still thinks he was in the ground because he hadn't moved. There we go. 22.
To the abyss with thee.
And it might seem kind of dumb that I'm making sure to pick up all the coins and gems and everything else that get dropped. But other than the initial one I did to be able to get Cristof's equipment and make sure he was able to get what he needed, I'm not going to do the hack for money anymore. It's just going to be what I find. So I'm trying to make sure I keep my finances up. 23. Or was that 24? We'll just say 23.
The hunger is upon me, and
We'll say 25 by the end of this room, because there's 2 more here, so we'll just leave it at that. We'll say 25 going forward. And also keep in mind, as I say those numbers, and if you know what I'm talking about, or you get what I'm saying there with that, and you agree with me, keep in mind, that is just the Canaanites that are in this monastery. This is not all the Canaanites in Prague. This is just the ones in this haven, basically. This is just one clan's stronghold in this city. This is not the entire city's worth.
An earthen floor blankets this room.
Aye, the Cappadocians do bury their newly embraced in a ritual of death. To the abyss with thee.
6. Oh, also a warning, if you play this 27, 28, going forward, if you play this without, using any hacks and go through it the right way, I will freely admit I'm not playing this the right way. If you go through this the right way, it's not so much, as I said, the numbers of them that is the problem. If they get the chance, because they're not really on this playthrough, because sometimes the AI does different things. Some of the disciplines the Cappadocians have access to can really, I won't say fuck you up, but they can really make your life difficult in a fight. Let's put it that way. They can really sap your strength and your ability to fight. Well, I just said it and I already forgot. What was it, 27? I've completely fucking lost track. I need to not be drinking when I play these. It's a good thing I'm sitting in a very comfy chair. Hey. When I'm done making this video and after it's all done rendering and I watch it on the final, I'm probably going to be shaking my head at how badly I'm keeping track of the numbers here, but it's what it is tonight. Why they have a secret compartment hiding only 50 gold is beyond me, but Cappadocians, they're fucking weird. Ooh, hidden room. At least he dropped almost as much gold as was hidden in that hidden
cold embrace of the tomb.
30.
To the abyss with thee. To the abyss with thee. To the abyss with
1. You'll also notice the weapon I gave Willem, I deliberately gave him one that's got a long reach because he likes to pile in. The way the AI is in this game, we'll say 30. He likes to pile in with you, and if he's got a normal sword, he just kind of swings aimlessly and doesn't hit anything because he can't reach it. If you give him a polearm, he's much more useful. That's just something learned from many, 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 many times of going through this game. So we'll say we're at 30 as we go down to Monastery 3, and we're now in the final level of this. So there's 31. I kind of wish I could jump around and just show the parts of the story I really want to show with this, but I don't want to do that. I want to show the whole game because it's the little section that comes up after this that I'm really looking forward to talking about and showing. Not that this isn't fun and enjoyable and worth showing, but being a history guy and somebody who's into Eastern Europe and all that, what comes up after this is a really, really cool thing that they tied in with real history of Prague and Eastern Europe that I really look forward to showing. Which I might not have a ton to say about it, but I really look forward to showing it. I've always loved it as part of the game. Just to show that is locked. That is where we go for the end game of this dungeon. Just wanted to show it there. Disease vaccine, I'm not real worried about that, but I think I pick it up just so I can sell it to you, Norna. And it is worth going back and talking to both you, Norna, and Jiri, because they do always have, every time you finish a new section of the story, they change the things in their shop a little bit and add things. And especially you, Norna, will have more things to talk to you about and show you. So what was that, 33, that one we killed there? God, I'm so bad at counting when I've been drinking. I can only count to 4, as the song says. 34. Okay, at least I didn't reset to 4 after having said it. 35. 36.
Tis Garonal's study. Now to find the key that unlocks.
That's one
the
you need to
secrets
go
of
into,
the
but that is not where the final boss is. That's where you think what you're looking for is, but it turns out it's not in there. However, it does get you into where you need to go for the final part of this. 36 essay? I've completely fucking lost track at this point. Public school education, folks. Can't count past 35. Boy, he uses a lot of disciplines. I wish he would automatically drink the blood when you give it to him, but he doesn't.
Stand thy ground.
Good thing we've picked up quite a bit. So what were we at? 36 for vampire totals here? If I was being really silly with this, I would edit it to do a running tally like I did in one of my Battletech videos for all of my headshots. But I'm not going to do that with this. It matches the vibe. 37, 38, 39. Let's go get him. We'll just say that gets us up to an even 40. I might have lost track of a couple that Willem has killed off screen. So we'll say 40. Because he does go off and you fight things sometimes that you bypass. 41. Yeah, he's definitely not useless as a coterie member here. He does cover your back and fight things. So what was that, 42? 43.
A key.
And this is the only level I'm going to count it. I'm just making a point. I'm not going to keep a running tally of how many vampires we kill. But just to, make the point of there's an awful lot of them in this small medieval city. Well, Prague's not small, but you know what I mean. In fact, I'm going to, at this point, I'll try to remember to put it here. I'm going to look up online and see if I can find a reasonable estimate somewhere for how many people lived in Prague in, we'll say, the mid-12th century. If you don't see a number come up, I couldn't find it, but if I find something, I'll put it up. 44. We'll just say 50. We'll stop counting, because this is pretty much the last level. There's a few more of them in here. We'll just say 50 as an even round number. That's 50 vampires in this haven. Which is great for your XP. Not so good for the people that have to live here, because my God, they've all got to be completely anemic and constantly drained. I mean, literally. Just the Cappadocians are enough to depopulate a normal-sized city. Because, again, if you look at one vampire per 100,000 and there's 50 vampires in here, that's a population of at least 5 million just to support this Haven. And I could be wrong on the numbers. I might be thinking what we kind of fudged in some of the way we set up, because we tried to keep the numbers a little more manageable in some of our games, rather than, you know, just constant swarms of vampires. But yeah, this is a bit much. But again, I understand it's a computer game. You've got to have foes to face, and there's only so many excuses for ghouls and things like that you can come across. But yeah, it's a bit much. Hey, I just got the notification that the other video I was filming, or was rendering, finally rendered.
Though he is ambitious and untrustworthy, he has added much to the protection
that
of
only
his
took
house.
about 2.5 hours.
He drinks the power of death with an unquenchable thirst, and could become the greatest student of the grave, but he hath little respect for our ancient alliances with the other Canaanites, and could reawaken old feuds. The ungrateful puppy even seeks to seal his crypt from me. Does he not know that I can crack his sealed crypt at any time with my anointed skull of the Lamia?
I don't know if that's what
I
they're
do
referring
require
to in this,
Mercurio's
but
aid
if I
until
remember
such time
right,
as I
in
can fathom the
medieval
secrets of the
vampire,
golem,
or medieval, I should say
gain its
Dark Age
protection.
vampire is what they call it in the game.
I would
If I remember
that I
right, the
had the
Lamia
Lord
are a
Rabbi Mordecai ben
bloodline
Judah to
of
aid
the
my
Cappadocians,
experience
but I don't know if
in
that's what they're
life, as I
referring
lack
to,
the
if they're
wisdom of the
referring to like the
Kabbalists.
actual
I would deal
mythological
with the devil
creature.
himself in these parlous times.
Kind of hard to tell sometimes in these games.
If Mercurio is charged with the protection of this haven, I wonder that we have not yet faced him.
I would have words with this Mercurio. Venerable Garanal should not have to rely upon an untrustworthy child.
If I remember right, in Dark Age Vampire, the Lamia are an all-female bloodline of the Cappadocians that are
Beast
a
once
warrior
wore this skull upon its neck.
caste, basically, within the clan. Alright, so now we go face Mercurio, who is the final vampire we face in this. Apologies in this, if I remember right, because I played this like 2 weeks ago now, the issues I had. If I remember right, one of the dialogue options I choose actually bypasses some of the dialogue. I didn't mean to do that, but it is what it is. I wasn't going to go back and do it again, so...
What? How comes thou here? Flee now, and the great Mercurio will not smite thee.
The great
So,
Mercurio.
hiding like a rat in a hole, whilst thy kin fight valiantly in defense of thy theft. Thou art a clotpole of a coward.
Who I will
I
say,
have
if you
not.
haven't really upped your
My
characters,
work
is a
is
pretty
too
good fight.
important. Work thou hast interrupted. I shall crack open the tree of
He's
life.
one, if you've gotten a few, it's very handy to have a few stakes to stick him with, because he has the disciplines pretty good, and he can make your life a living hell trying to fight him.
I shall tell thee the secret of death and life.
I
Give us
think
the
I chose the
non-fragment
wrong
and we shall let thee
dialogue
live.
option there.
Nay, thou wilt tell Garanol of my theft. 'Tis better I...
Not that it changes anything going forward, it gives you more to talk to him and get some story and explanation of things, but it's alright. You still end up having to fight and kill him, so... Okay, see that cloud he puts out? That's just one of the abilities he
The
has.
signs of Gehenna,
The Book
Canto
of God
4.
fragment.
So too, our grandsires will rise from the ground. They will break their fast on the first part of us.
I think also
They will
canonically this might be
consume
part of
us
why
all.
she went Sabat instead of Camarilla, talking about a Catarina who you're recovering this
This
for.
is a great secret.
The
known to a
Camarilla
few
denies
wise
the
vampires.
existence of the elders
The
and
Book of
thinks the
Nod
Gehenna
tells
and the
us
end
that the
times and all that
13
is just
ancient
stupid
founders
myth,
of the vampire
at least
clans
officially
will one day
publicly,
rise
whereas
from
the
the age-old
Sabat
sleep.
acknowledges
When these
that it is
antediluvians
likely a
emerge from
real
torpor,
thing and is
They
actively
shall
trying
fall upon
to
us,
prevent
their
it or
descendants,
fight it,
and
or
gorge
at
their
least
unholy thirst upon our blood.
delay it
The
ever
day they
happening.
rise is called
So,
Gehenna, or the
that
winnowing.
might be canonically
signals
why
the
she
end
ended up
of
going
all that
Sabat
is.
instead of Camarilla, just as
We
much
know
as
not how
hatred
to
of
prevent it,
adventure.
but even now, Ekaterina searches for a way.
Why didst thou not tell me of this? With such evil barking at our heels, we must hasten our work.
Yeah, with such
Forgive
evil
us.
barking at our
Most
heels,
young
dude,
Canaanites are not
you're
ready to
still
hear
like
it.
1,000 years
They
from it
mistrust
happening.
their sire, and that we
Canonically,
cannot
it
have.
happens at the beginning of the 21st century, but then I think they retconned that to keep the World of Darkness going.
Fears that I seek to betray him, but he shall not know with a certainty until the last of his
I like the voice actor they got from Mercurio, but he reads through these very, very slowly and dramatically. Like, his is like one paragraph, and this takes a long time to get
and
through.
shall overlook my indiscretions. So I must keep his mewling household in a frenzy, defending themselves from aggrieved villains. I shall steal from the beslubbering Brujah to draw their wrath upon.
So this is getting a little bit mentioning of the what I wanted, what I'm looking forward to, and I'm going to mention a little bit as it goes forward here, but I won't get ahead of myself. But if you know history and mythology and lore and legend, you might know what we're going for here.
Blood before the moon has fully waned.
Garanal's search for wisdom has not trespassed into our haven. 'Twas his false servant Mercurio.
Well, you are very happy to learn that it is not Garanal that betrayed your trust. It was his rebellious errant child. So you don't have any issue with Garanal, and you took care of the problem he had with Mercurio. So everything's cool with him on a personal level. I would have sworn there was more to pick up in here. That's why I went back and I'm looking around and swiping over everything. I would have sworn there was more to pick up here. I mean, for a medieval Cappadocian, that's not a bad little haven there, but I thought there was more that you got out of it. Alright, now we have to backtrack through all of this. Which takes a lot less time than fighting your way down it does. It's just a question of trying to remember where you came from and don't get turned around and go places you don't need to. Not that we're about to get into a fight, but just because I'm getting them healed up while we have the chance here. We have a good bit of time before we get into our next fight, so it's not like I'm front-loading the healing here. It's just something I'm in the habit of doing when I have the chance, and when they're down, heal them back up. One thing you don't really get in this game is the sense of passage of time. Like with the dialogue and the characters when you go back and forth and all that. It's implied sometimes that like a month or more might have passed between the last time you talked to that character, which in-game seems to happen in the same night. So, you know, I'm just checking to see because I had a feeling we forgot to get something. I thought we might have forgotten, like, somehow dropped the Nag fragment, because I thought it was an item we carried, but it doesn't seem to be, which is why I'm going through checking things here.
We must hurry. Dawn approaches.
But then when it goes into this, I'm like, okay, we did get it, because it goes into the next.
Remember this. During the day, thou must find a place to rest where no sunlight can enter.
It was just one of those where I had just the nagging feeling that I'd forgotten an important piece.
I cannot share thy pleasure.
But then once having that triggers this, you can't get into the next part till you have it, so it was...
Behold, thy mission survives even thy death.
We're good, basically.
Scant solace for the loss of my soul.
Thou dost brood too much upon events thou cannot change, Cristof.
He is far from the only character to point out that Cristof
bury
broods
thy
an
woe
awful
in
lot.
the blood-drenched soil of battle. I have found that the fury of war weaves enchantments that soothe even the most troubled heart, kindred and kind alike.
I well know the seduction of warfare.
Then thou knowest the joy of cutting a bloody swath through thy foeman.
The only joy I felt was in doing the work of heaven as a soldier of
Monks
God.
just walking around as two
I have done
vampires
nothing to
standing there
warrant this
talking about
fallen
horrible,
state.
horrible things.
How can God allow men to become demons? How can God snatch away the promise of salvation?
God allows the innocent child on the battlefield to cry and does nothing. So why should God prevent the misery of a killer like unto thee?
I do not know. I have not considered these things.
Come, I promise thee a trip to the convent, but make haste. Dawn comes quickly.
Cristof,
Sneak into the hot nun's room in the middle of the
my
night.
love?
Thou art accursed, if Cristof be thy love.
Nay, do not go, my lord. Let me look upon thee. Good my lord, forgive me. I was filled with fright to behold thee. Thy comely face is now sicklied over with a pale cast, and I scarcely recognized thee. Forgive me. Thou hast been gone so long, we feared for thy life.
Thou feared aright, for I am dead to the world, and my soul is lost.
Do I behold a ghost? Nay. I touch thy arm, and I know thou art flesh and blood.
Not flesh.
Actually, they really went above and beyond with the
blood.
character design on an
My
Esker. You
lord,
can believe him having
Thy
some impure
words do
thoughts
fill my
about
heart
that.
with fear, and I tremble.
Then again, that could just be my taste in women. I don't
Good
know.
my lord, why dost thou look so strangely upon me?
My mind is filled with thoughts of such base villainy. My hunger for thee is stronger now than when my heart did pump its own warm blood.
I know not what misfortune weighs so heavily upon thy soul, or has driven the rosy warmth from thy cheek, but the heavenly powers can banish all such darkness.
Should they banish this darkness, they would banish all that is left of me.
Say not so. My lord, I know thy heart, and thy soul is pure.
My heart, my soul. Thy words torment me with remembrance of all that I have lost. I was a fool to have come here. I must never return to a house of God.
Nay, I pray thee stay. My honored lord, thy soul is
She's
in peril.
really trying to get him
My
to
honored
stay.
lady, my soul is lost. My cause is doomed, and I am damned. I go.
I don't know if he's
I will
noble,
not look
like
upon
still
thee
has
again.
that nobility in
And
him
I
for
pray
not
thee,
wanting
my
to put
lord,
her
receive
potentially
this
at
token
risk,
of me.
or if he's
It's
just
but a
that
small amulet of
thick-headed
St.
and
Jude.
mired in his own
Thou
misery.
didst give
but
it me, and it hath soothed the pangs of mine own heart that began when first I beheld thee, and a desperate, hopeless love did grow in my breast. Mayhap it will be some consolation to thy doomed cause.
Art thou deaf, woman?
Again, the
My
atmosphere
cause
and
is
ambience
lost.
of this game is great.
Therefore do I offer thee the
You really
amulet
do
of
feel
Jude,
like you're, or at least
patron
as
saint
far
of
as,
lost
again,
causes.
late 90s, early 2000s games go, you really do look and feel like you're in a
Now,
candlelit
sweet
medieval
heavens,
bedroom.
guide him.
Ah, Lemusa.
He hath taken me. He hath taken the best of me and left nothing but a shell. In his home of bone, in his halls of skin, behind his walls of flesh, he hath taken all I had.
That might seem like a weird random encounter with a raving crazy lady, but that actually turns out to be some pertinent, I won't say like vital important information, but pertinent little nuggets of info that she gave you. She is a character who will come up again in later parts of this medieval Prague storyline.
This is most excellent, Wilhelm. Our alliance with the Cappadocians shall strengthen when I reveal Mercurio's treachery to Garanol. Wilhelm, Thou art a
I love the
Brujah of
vampire
surpassing
politics of
splendor.
this, which
Our
understandably
grandsire
is a little
Brujah
different from how
himself
humans
would
would look
feel
at
pride
things.
at this.
Our
In
alliance
modesty,
will
mistress,
strengthen
I
when we
could not have
inform
done
him that
without
you've
Cristof's
slaughtered
aid.
all of his clan
He has
members
done
within this
well.
city.
Cristof
And,
performed admirably,
proven
my
that
sire. I believe
you
he
didn't
is
have
ready
to
to
kill
know of
him.
the oncoming struggle.
What struggle is this?
The Jihad. The great war of all the vampire clans. The Tzimisce against the Tremere, and us against both.
The Tremere?
The Tremere were
Ah,
once
the
a
first
house of
mention of the
mages, part of the
Tremere.
Order of Hermes. They stole Cain's gift from an ancient of our
Become
kind,
very
an
important to the story
antediluvian,
going
one of
forward.
Cain's grandchildren. They seek to infiltrate and control all the world. They couple the power of Cain with the ways of unspeakable magic.
The fiends from the Carpathians,
A couple
the
of
Tzimisce,
sections of the quest
are
away,
fighting
but
the
they do become
Tremere,
very important.
even as we speak. The Tzimisce have invaded the ancestral homelands of the Ventru, which puts us in a strange alliance with the very Ventru who destroyed our great city of Carthage. So, we unite with the vampire prince of Prague, the Ventru Rudolf Brandl. For now.
The
Thou
prince
hast
that they
reason to
mention
hate
and
the
several
Ventru
other
as
the
well,
characters
Cristof.
you run
Thou
into
fell
here
in battle
are
against the pagan
also
barbarians because
in
the Ventru
the
made puppets of thy
established
leaders.
canon of the
The
game.
Ventru
Like they
sent thee into
have,
battle to stop
like
their
you
Tzimisce
know what
enemies.
happens to them
Most of
after
the barbarians
this
were
computer
rebels.
game is done.
Rule
They are
servitors
part
of
of
the
the
Tzimisce.
overall larger
Other
story
clans maintain
of the
havens
Vampire the
here in
Masquerade
Prague.
universe,
Thou
the
hast
World
met
of
the
Darkness and everything.
Cappadocians. The Nosferatu lurk below the graveyard in the northern
I'll
quarter.
get into those a little bit more when we
Most
meet
of
those
King
characters. I
Otakar's
won't get
family,
ahead
the
of it, but
Premises,
I thought it was
are
cool how
Tzimisce
much they
ghouls.
tied this in with the larger
With the
lore of the
entrance of
setting.
the Tremere into Prague,
Doesn't exist in a little
struggle is bound to ensue,
bubble or pocket
leaving the
side
mortals
universe, whatever you want to
greatly
call it. It
amused.
is part of the larger
We
story.
must avert this horror.
Many in Prague have disappeared.
Kristoff even appears as
including
a
Brujah.
cameo character
We
in some of the
suspect they
clan
fell victim
novels
to the Tzimisce
set in
fiends
the modern
or the usurping
Knights.
Tremere. We must stop the abductions.
First, we must seek to undo the damage done by the traitorous
They're kind of
Mercurial.
set in
Mistress,
the same
I
time
wish to
period
approach
as
the
the
Jewish
later
order and
portion
warn
of
the
this
rabbi of
game,
Mercurial's
although they
meddling.
don't exactly go
If their
along
golem
with
had
what is
suffered a
established
cowardly
in the
attack,
canon of this
it may
game,
not
but
be
they're
able to
not
protect the Jews from
so
the
far
Tzimisce.
off and obtrusive that
We
they're
have no alliance
like
with the Kabbalists
noticeably
in the Jewish
weird
quarter,
either.
and they have powerful
They work with the
charms of
character
fate
and the
to
story, they
wield
just don't
against our
fit
kind.
into the story as
We
set
have
in
a
the game.
duty to protect the mortals.
Should we deliver unto them this news, mayhap the Jews will owe us
But
a
again,
boon.
as I said,
But we
the
have much to do first.
passage
In
of
3
time
nights'
in this
time,
game
thou may
isn't
deliver
real
thy
well
message.
done, so
Take
it could be
Cristof with
something
thee,
that
but
happened
beware.
during
The
that
Kabbalists have no love
that was
for the
supposed to
likes
be,
of
you know,
us.
when time had passed and things had happened, that it doesn't really establish.
3 nights' time may be too late.
Because as I
After
say, it
one
makes it
mission
seem
with
like
Will,
everything you're
thou
doing
hast
in
become very like him.
this
So be it.
and the
Wilhelm, take
subsequent
Cristof to the
missions
Jewish
here in
quarter
Prague
this
all
night
seem
and
like
warn
they
the
take
rabbi.
place in one night. They really don't. I mean, it's probably supposed to be the span of months of real-world time, but they really don't set that up or show it very well. So there you go. You saw our little quest here. And again, if you know some history, I will start getting into. They tied this in with the... I mean, it's a known myth outside of it, but I'll just say because of the setting, the Jewish mythology of the Golem of Prague, which is a real myth and lore and legend thing. So I won't really get into it. You can look it up if you want to know more. I just think it's really, really cool that they tied this completely fictional vampire story in with this actual piece of Prague and medieval history, at least as far as folklore and legends go. That was pretty cool on their part. I like that.
A comely young sister did come
Yeah, she
to
definitely
me
is a
from
comely
the
young sister.
convent. A clever lass she was, and more valorous than many a young warrior. She bade me give thee this letter.
My dearest Cristof, I have spoken to the old gypsy, a woman of great lore and learning. She hath told me much of the way of the Cainites. She has heard that the soul is not truly lost after the horrid blood ceremony. There is hope even in unlife. The elder Cainites know of the secret, and thou too may learn of it. I live for thy redemption. Thine in faith, Aneska.
Farewell, young one.
So I skipped over what I did with buying stuff from her. It wasn't anything important. I was just unloading stuff. I just wanted to get to, because I knew that that Aneska thing, which, as I say, it seems like it's 5 minutes after you left her room, but it's probably supposed to be days. Now, this is the only time that we go to the section we're about to go into. You can go into it afterwards, but there's nothing there, so there's really no reason to. But we're about to go into they don't call it the Jewish quarter, they call it the Northern Quarter, but the Jewish quarter of Prague, which, if you're kind of familiar with the Second World War, basically in the medieval times, just like when the Nazis were in the 30s and 40s, the Jews were more or less confined to ghettos. So, yeah.
Help us to go on Maccabi.
I have to get up for a second, so I'm going to let this talk through this section and come back when it's done.
Save us! Our own golem has gone mad!
Can the rabbi control this brute?
Yes, but the rabbi is dead. I am his son, Mendel.
Tell me how to kill the golem, Mendel.
The golem's life cometh from truth.
Thou speakest riddles.
The word truth hath been writ upon a scroll and placed within the brow of the creature. The Hebrew word for truth and the word for death are but a single letter apart. Destroy that one letter and the creature falls in death.
So here we go. There is the Golem of Prague, Maccabi. And as you'll see, even with him being maxed out stats-wise, this is not an easy fight. I mean, grand scheme of things, it's not that hard. But look how much hurt he puts on us before we take him down.
To the abyss with thee! To the abyss!
There we go. But, yeah.
This is the Kabbalistic magic that quickened the golem.
Also, as you see, I skipped over it in Jiri's shop. I outfitted us with a warhammer and a mace. Pretty much the only things that do any damage to the golem are impact weapons.
The demon is no more.
Swords don't do anything
The golem was
to
no
it.
demon.
It was, and we have sent it straight to hell.
The golem was animated by the life force, and his spirit now returns to Abraham's bosom.
What? Blaspheming sorcerer? This monster of clay has no soul.
I am no sorcerer. I am a Kabbalist, and all life is from God. Every man, animal, and creature.
I like to with
Even this
character design
golem,
for Mendel here.
even
It's
vampires,
subtle,
such as
like
thee.
they didn't go over the top with it,
Liar.
but they
Thou dost
did us
toy with my
look
sanity.
pretty good for like a
Such as I
medieval
cannot be revealed.
Jew, the son of a
An
rabbi.
outcast
He's
from
got,
heaven.
the beard
Not
and the
so.
simple but
All
distinctive
life comes
clothes
from one place,
and all
to
that.
place it must
He
return.
doesn't look
Why
like the
should
rest
God
of the
make
townspeople.
such creatures?
To vex mankind,
Like, it's not over the
all
top or
part of the
anything,
kingdom
but
of God.
he does look
sent to test our
pretty
faith,
much what you
as
what
the
you would
devil
expect
did
for the
test
game
simple
for a
faith of Job.
son of a rabbi in
How
medieval
has thy
Prague.
faith endured, Crusader?
Again, love the
Not
character
well.
design in this game.
For God hath abandoned my soul.
The question is not whether God hath abandoned thee, selfish boy. It's whether thou wilt abandon God and become a beast.
I shall
I
consider
also
thy
like what he
words.
has to say to Cristof
Nay.
here.
There is no magic in the Shem. 'Tis merely letters. Letters which
you're
connect
looking at it
Golem
the
to
wrong
the
way.
true
It's not
source
that God's
of power.
abandoned you. It's that you're
Nonetheless,
so
the
selfish,
Cappadocians would be
you're
grateful to get
abandoning
such a
God.
thing. It would help them build
Which
golems
I'm not a
for their own
religious
protection.
person, but within the
The
context
Shem is
of
thine,
this
with my
is
blessings
a
to
good
do with
point to
as
make.
thou
Pushing back his weapons. Oh. Heal him, get his blood up. As I say, like with the last one, you're not about to go into battle, but just do it while you're thinking of it. You don't have to remember to do it going into a fight later. So we'll make our way back out of the Jewish quarter. I won't call it the ghetto. It's the Jewish quarter in this. Sounds a hell of a lot better. Oh, and now that you're a Canaanite, you can attack the people that you come across. You can even feed from them if you want to. Just don't get caught doing it because all the town guards will come after you. So now we go talk to Garanol, and that will finish this video. Only a couple minutes left. So I will let it talk to the end of that. It ends rather abruptly because it goes right into the next part of the story, and I didn't want to overlap it. So I will end this now. Thank you for watching. Please give a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I will continue to do these. I will try and get the next one out quicker. And enjoy. We will see you on the next one.
Hail, Garanol of Clan Cappadocian, master of the art of death.
Hail to thee, servant of the wise Ekaterina of Clan Brujah. Be most welcome. And hail to thee, good Cristof, who vanquished the fiend in the mines. I make no claim of vengeance against thee for the destruction of my haven. Instead, I offer my thanks to thee, and to thy clan, for bringing to light the treachery of my venomous child Mercurio.
I present this to thee as a gift from Ekaterina the Wise, sire of the Brujah.
Ah, yes. This should be of some use indeed, to protect us from the disorder of these times. Tell your mistress I am grateful, and owe the noble Brujah a boon.
We shall.
I only wish this gem had not been purchased at so dear a price. I mourn the bloodshed in the Jewish quarter by the wicked Mercurio, and do reproach myself for his misdeeds. The good rabbi now journeys into the land of the dead, where hides all knowledge, and I am to blame. Prithee tell Ekaterina that I wish to serve her Promethean task, and strive with her to bind up our uncertain future. In partial payment of the boon I owe, I offer thee my prized child, Serena. She will aid thee in thy efforts.
I pray that my service